Okay, it is Wednesday, February 5th. We discuss an interesting statement released by NFL referees yesterday. We discuss the legacies of Nick Siriani and Andy Reid. More NBA trade rumors are leaking with the deadline tomorrow. And some interesting comments made by Astros GM about Alex Bregman. This is the Early Game Podcast. Listen to the show in the mornings on your commute, whenever and wherever, so you can be a part of today's sports conversations. Let's go. Okay, let's start out with what I said before, and that is that ref apology. I was minding my own business yesterday, and all of a sudden I see a tweet. I see a tweet from Tom Pelissero. The tweet reads, statement from NFL Referees Association Executive Director Scott Green, who says, it is insulting and preposterous to hear conspiracy theories that somehow 17 officiating crews consisting of 138 officials are colluding to assist one team. They had an entire statement that goes on and on and on about how they do not favor the Kansas City Chiefs. Essentially, that's what it was saying. I simply cannot believe that they released this statement. This is coming from a Bills fan. I am allowed to speak about this. We were joking. Do you really think people in their heart of hearts feel like the refs cheat for the Chiefs? Yeah, it's disheartening that there were 3 plays in the AFC Championship game which were a coin flip, a flip of the coin, and went to the Chiefs. Because on replay, they couldn't overturn them. But on the field, 1, 2, or even all 3 of them should have been called for the Bills. But to actually come out with a statement, I mean, that makes it even worse. Come on. You're that insecure? You're that upset about what the media says about you? Nick Wright coming out in your defense, blasting Adam Schefter, that's not enough? You seem more guilty by making this comment. I mean, it's a joke. Relax. You got your wish. You'll be able to watch Fox, watch the Super Bowl, and you'll be able to see Taylor Swift 1,000 times. You got what you wanted. Quit while you're ahead. I mean, for real, what are we doing here? A statement that you're not colluding for the Chiefs. It makes you seem more guilty. Do you not realize that? Who decided, we really need to release a statement so that people really know that we're not cheating for the Chiefs? People really know that we're not making calls just for the Chiefs. Man, I was blown away. I could not believe it when I saw that. I laughed. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was some bit. I thought maybe that was some Jason Kelsey late night bit that he was doing for his show, which is not good, by the way. Maybe I should review that on here. Okay, let's move on. Man, that was crazy. Okay, so continuing our Super Bowl coverage. Yesterday we spoke about the quarterbacks and their legacies, and today we'll speak about the coaches in this game and their legacies. Let's start with Nick Siriani. If you listen to how Eagles fans talk about Nick Siriani, you would not believe that this is his second Super Bowl appearance in his 4 seasons with the Eagles. That's right. 50% of his seasons with the Eagles, half of them, he has made the Super Bowl. It is insane how Eagles fans feel and talk about him. You know, it's funny how Sirianni's legacy sort of goes hand in hand with Jalen Hurts. And we spoke about Hurts yesterday. But if Sirianni wins, I never want to hear a negative word about Nick Sirianni out of an Eagles fan's mouth ever again. every single season. 4 for 4, he has been good. This team today is eerily similar to the team from 2 years ago that lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. What's the big difference? Saquon Barkley. So you're the same team, but you have the only non-quarterback MVP finalist on your team now. There are no excuses here. Win with with this great roster. One of the best defenses in the league. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert. Do I need to continue? The Eagles roster is better on paper than the Chiefs. Is that a controversial take? Besides the quarterback position, the Eagles offense is better in every facet of the game. It's not like Travis Kelce is playing lights out that we're going to say, oh, they've got the better tight end. He's not playing. It's not like he's playing amazing this year. Defensively, the Eagles were second in the league in passing yards allowed. They were 10th in the league against the run. So good there too. All around, besides Patrick Mahomes, this Eagles team is better. So frankly, Nick Sirianni has no excuses. He needs to execute now, this year. And by the way, if he does lose, I still don't think there's much to complain about. You know how many fan bases would dream of making 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years? Like, geez. You know what I would give for that? Nothing safe in my life for what I would give for that. Stop complaining. To sum it up, I don't think much should change for Sirianni even if he loses. He has done what other coaches were unable to do. But if he wins, he would be only the second coach to beat the tandem of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in the Super Bowl. And I think there's no more complaining that should come from Eagles fans after that. I mean, the big question to me is he going to cry during the national anthem this year? I got to find out who's performing that. If they'll bring Stapleton back, try to get him to shed some tears. It blows my mind how much the Eagles fans can't stand Sirianni. They're so spoiled. It is crazy to me. And to me, the thing that really gets me is this is their second Super Bowl in the last 3 years, right? They won one a couple years before that. What do they have so much to complain about? How come Eagles fans are so ungrateful for the past couple of years? They won a Super Bowl recently. I mean, it is crazy. Nick Foles won them a Super Bowl. And I have to hear about, and I'm going to have to hear about, if they lose this game, I'm going to have to hear about how Nick Sirianni is, he's got to be fired, and Jalen Hurts stinks, and blah, 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 blah. You won a Super Bowl. That's enough for my lifetime if I could win a Super Bowl. One Super Bowl is enough for my entire lifetime. I might retire from sports if I win a Super Bowl. If the Bills won a Super Bowl, I'd probably retire from sports. That's it. I'll go take up crocheting or something. I mean, the amount of complaining I've heard the last couple of years, it is just ridiculous. One coach who the Eagles have had that they got rid of after a long time, though, was Andy Reid, to move on and to segue into the next conversation. And I've spoken about Reid on this show, about how great of a career he has had. I mean, it is insane. He's been a head coach every year since 1999. 14 seasons with the Eagles, 12 seasons with the Chiefs now. 26 years. He's been in the NFL as a coach since 1992. So that's 32 years. 32 years in the NFL between 3 franchises. He was a tight ends coach and quarterbacks coach for the Packers from 1992 to 1998. Now, look, as I said before, I'm sure if you ask Eagles fans, they wouldn't be so hot with Reid. He went to 1 Super Bowl in his 14 years there and didn't win. So it's interesting to talk about him in the conversation of greatest coaches of all time. It is. Frankly, he didn't have much success in his tenure with the Eagles. He went to 1 Super Bowl, that was it. But then, when it rains, it pours. And he has been pouring it on now. So I think everyone in their head has Reid positioned as one of the greatest of all time. In terms of longevity, it's insane how long he's been around. And at least for me, when I think of the coaches who have been around forever, Andy Reid doesn't even enter my mind, even though he should. In terms of success, it's been more recent. So I don't think of him like that. That's just a fact. He has had all of his success, if not all of his success in the last 6 years. 5 years. There's nothing wrong with that. I spoke yesterday about how Mahomes may need 9 Super Bowls to catch Brady in terms of legacy. And I think there's a similar argument to be made for Reid and Bill Belichick. Although I don't think Reid will catch Belichick. They've both been head coaches for about the same amount of years in the NFL. Belichick had a 5-year stint with the Browns as head coach, then 3 seasons as the Jets defensive coordinator. Then obviously 24 years as Patriots head coach. 6 Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowl losses. So if Reid wins this year, he's up to 4 Super Bowls, 2 losses. So he's getting up there with Belichick. But if he ends up catching him in accolades, it will be in more years. It will take more time. So Andy Reid is up there comfortably as one of the greatest of all time. Will he be the GOAT? I just don't think so. I just don't think so. He certainly needs to win this year if he wants a fighting chance, because he is not getting any younger. But it's interesting how he has been able to rack up similar stats to that of Bill Belichick. So remember, Bill had 6 Super Bowls. Andy Reid has 3. So if he wins this year, can he tie or surpass Bill Belichick? And if he surpasses him, as I said before, it's 29 seasons. So when I first thought of that argument, I wasn't even thinking about the fact that he was the Browns head coach for 5 years. So we have to keep that in mind. So 29 years. And Andy Reid, that was for Bill Belichick, was a head coach for 29 years. And this is Andy Reid's 26th year. So the question is, say if in the next 6 years, Andy Reid is able to tie Bill Belichick in Super Bowls, where does that take him if he's coached for 2 more years? How does it even out? I never do this. I should, though. Why don't you leave in the comments? What do you think Andy Reid needs to do to surpass Bill Belichick as the greatest coach of all time? I think we can comfortably say Bill Belichick is the greatest NFL coach of all time. So what does Andy Reid need to do the rest of his career to be the greatest coach of all time? Comment that. Make sure while you're commenting, like, and make sure you're subscribed. And you're following on Twitter, and you're following on Spotify. Okay. Let's move on to the NBA. So yesterday, Luka Doncic was introduced as a Los Angeles Laker. Nothing so crazy happened. Him in a Doncic jersey looks wrong. It felt weird to me. I guess because I haven't had so much time to really swallow that pill that he's not going to be a Mav anymore and he's going to be looking in a different uniform. Another side note, every time I see Rob Pelinka, I think I'm watching Chris Traeger in Parks and Rec. He looks exactly like Rob Lowe. It's crazy. So a couple of things happened at this press conference. First, Luka called playing next to LeBron James, quote-unquote, a dream come true. I mean, yeah, it would be a dream come true for me, too. I don't think that's such a crazy take. GM Rob Pelinka confirmed that trade talks began with Mavericks GM Nico Harrison over coffee in Dallas earlier this year. See, I find this interesting. The Mavs make the finals last year. And as soon as 6 months later, they're already ready to ship him off. Like, this wasn't just the trade deadline coming up. They had to have been speaking about this for over a month. Something else has to be at play. Because the Mavs must have been thinking about trading him for longer than just the coffee session that Rob Pelinka had with Nico Harrison. Like, you don't wake up and say, oh, we're going to trade our 25-year-old superstar for nothing. You don't wake up one random morning to decide that. Doncic said he had to check if it was April Fool's upon learning about the trade. You and the rest of us, buddy. Like, that's insane. Imagine as a player being in so much disbelief that you got traded that you think it was April Fool's. These guys see it coming mostly. They'll hear the rumors. There are GMs that will tell them, hey, we're shopping you around. My question is, why did no one ask about his current weight? Hey, Luka, first time, long time. How much do you weigh? The closest we got was he was asked about the reporting on the trade. And he said he was taking the high road regarding conditioning concerns and other reported issues. Just ask him, why are you fat? What led you to this? There was also a report after the press conference that he won't commit to the Lakers long term. All right. Yeah, right. Nobody believes you on that. It's the perfect situation. Luka, this is your team now. You're staying forever, whether you like it or not. And by the way, all eyes are on February 25th. The Mavs visit the Lakers. The average price of a ticket to this game is $1,200. I didn't look this up, but if the Lakers are playing again in Dallas this season, I was thinking about this. What's your reaction when he returns to Dallas? You can't boo him. What did he do wrong? So he's going to have to get a huge ovation. He should really never be booed by Mavs fans. And then anytime Nico Harrison comes onto the Jumbotron, he's the one who should be booed. Okay, let's move on. Speaking of the Mavs, they made a trade yesterday. This is the first move in the PLE, the post-Luka era. They traded Quentin Grimes to the 76ers for Caleb Martin. I mean, nice. They got better. He's averaging just under 10. Caleb Martin's averaging just under 10 points per game this season. But, do they think they're saving face with fans by trading for Caleb Martin? Now, there was a rumor circulating last night that the Mavs desperately want KD. And if that happens, this is officially the craziest trade deadline in NBA history. It would just be a wild turn of events for this franchise. But again, with so many names rumored to be on the move, I think we have a crazy next few days anyways. I mean, this is just the beginning. So many teams want to make moves. A lot of teams have players, big time players they want to move. So again, we are on KD trade watch. We are on Jimmy Butler trade watch. And who knows what else could happen. And by the way, I was wrong yesterday. The Warriors could trade for Klay Thompson. They could trade for KD. Boy, how fun would that be? Get the band back together. Okay, let's move on. Because I didn't mention this in the opening, but we had Overwatch. Last night, we got one goal closer. 18 away from breaking the record. The Caps beat the Panthers 6-3. I can feel it. Come on, Ovi. Go on a tear. Do it this season. How awesome would that be? Let's just bang out 18 goals the rest of the way. Okay. We got one more story here. And it is in baseball. We got interesting comments yesterday from Astros GM Dana Brown. Chandler Rome tweeted, during his address to the team's annual media luncheon, Dana Brown twice spoke about Alex Bregman in the past tense, saying once that the team, quote-unquote, lost Bregman. I mean, at this point, I don't even know what will happen. Maybe the Tigers? I mean, it would be so nice for the Tigers. Adding Flaherty back, bringing in Bregman. If the Tigers can do that, I've said this before, they are the favorites in the AL Central. I don't care about the Royals. I don't care about the Guardians. The Tigers are all around a better team with Bregman, with Flaherty, than either of those teams. But the mysterious case of Alex Bregman continues. We have two of the most interesting free agent situations. And it seems like every year we get late bloomers in the game. Last year it was JD Martinez, it was Jordan Montgomery, it was Blake Snell, Matt Chapman. And I guess just because we're in the heat of the moment, it feels so odd. But with Pete Alonso and Alex Bregman, Alex Bregman essentially has 2.5 suitors right now. It's the Tigers, it's the Astros, and the Red Sox are like half in. There was a report yesterday that the Red Sox and the Cardinals are discussing the Nolan Arenado trade, and that will depend on what happens with Bregman. So ultimately, obviously everyone can use Bregman's services, but I will hammer down this point. I will keep hammering this point down until Pete Alonso and Alex Bregman sign. Nobody wants anymore to sign aging players. More so with pitchers. We've seen that, and that's why we've seen that Jack Flaherty signing happen the way it did. That's why we saw the Corbin Burns with the years and the money. So especially with pitchers. But with position players too. We are seeing the agent side, the player's side, is unwilling to meet the team's new philosophy around free agents and free agent players. And that is not as much years and frankly not as much money. And every team has agreed, basically, besides for extenuating circumstances like Juan Soto and Shohei Ohtani, every team has decided they will agree on this, and they will not. And essentially, they brought down their own market. The teams have brought down asking prices by all agreeing not to sign players of certain caliber, in terms of age, in terms of trajectory, career trajectory. They have all essentially decided that they are going to collectively not give them a lot of years and not give them a lot of money. So again, we are super close. I mean, pitchers and catchers report in a week from now. I'm already seeing videos of players reporting. We are super close to baseball season. I love it. It's 28 degrees in Queens, but I can feel spring in the air. All right, that's a show. We'll have more Super Bowl coverage tomorrow. We're getting closer and closer to the big game. Thanks for listening to the Early Game Podcast. Again, make sure you like, subscribe, comment about what Andy Reid needs to do to be the greatest of all time. Follow on X. Have a wonderful day.